You're listening to the Creator Mindset Podcast, episode number 49.
Welcome to the Creator Mindset Podcast, where artists, performers, and entrepreneurs share knowledge that will kick off your career and take you to the next level. Turn your vision into reality with your host, Ariane Lianza Hines.
Today, I am having a conversation with Gaetano Ruggiero, and he's the vocalist of Ragdoll Sunday, a rock band from Switzerland. Four guys gathered their passion together, and they are now releasing their brand new EP tomorrow, January 19th, 2018. Officially, it's called IMMIGRANT, and on this podcast, you can have an exclusive listen to the fourth track that we prepared together with Gaetano. He reached out to me back in June 2017 to actually work on his performance and his vocals because his life, his passion is music. Today we talk about the Mexico tour experience he just had this past fall, his first performances, and how he actually fell into the pot of being a singer. He also shares how he got signed and got a management to believe in them and have a 360 deal. With no further ado, I give you Gaetano from Ragdoll Sunday. Ragdoll Sunday is a Zurich-based hard progressive rock band, and they've just recently come back from supporting ex-Nightwish singer Tarja Turunen in Mexico, as well as playing in Germany earlier this year. Their first official release is coming out early 2018, and today we welcome the singer from Ragdoll Sunday, Gaetano Ruggiero, who has been in the independent scene for over 10 years and has featured on several releases in various bands before his current role in Ragdoll Sunday. So welcome, Gaetano.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. We had a rehearsal earlier today and obviously been looking forward to talking to you. So yeah, everything is fine, thank you. And yourself, good?
Yes, very well. We picked the Christmas tree today, so we're happy.
Excellent.
And so Gaetano is a singer, and he connected with me before summer of 2017 to get a few classes to get his vocals in order, and that's how we connected. I just want to talk with you today about your debut EP and how it was about when you toured this past fall. And so let's start with the band story.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, absolutely. So basically, we all ended up in Switzerland for a variety of different reasons about 2 years ago or so now. And after some sort of reaching out, various methods, putting some posters up in a very old school fashion, making some forum posts and connecting with people face to face and so on. And to be honest, going and meeting a lot of different people passing through the ranks of the band. We eventually settled on a lineup, and we've been going now since 2016. We've actually written a lot of music. We probably have about 3 albums worth of material, but we're finally going to release our debut EP in the beginning of next year, which was produced by Brian Virtue, who's worked with a few bands like Soundgarden and Filter and a few others. It's all going quite well now after some tumultuous ups and downs in the past.
Yeah. So how did you meet? How did you form this band? I mean, you all come from various reasons to Zurich, but did you put an ad? How did it happen?
Yeah, so the current lineup, probably best if I stick just to the current lineup, which is myself on the doing the singing, and I'm starting to bring in the synthesizer a little bit. Recently bought a synthesizer. We also have Manny on the drums. He came from Portugal via Luxembourg, and he came here for a job opportunity. And then we have Adonis on the guitar. He's also doing a little bit of singing as well. And he's from Greece. And then finally Felipe from Brazil on the bass guitar. And I think and Adonis, I met him. He was working in a bar when I was out one evening, just exploring Zurich as you do on a weekend. Manny, I met through an online advert, which I just plastered all over the place. And Felipe was actually through a connection. So it kind of just goes to show that, you know, my kind of philosophy is that if you're trying to do something, then you just tell everyone that you know, and someone might know someone, and then it leads you somewhere else, and so on. So yeah, as I said, there was a few people that we met using those similar types of, methods. But in the end, we found these guys and we had the right kind of connection and similar goals, which is, of course, very important. And here we are now. I mean, I think the attitude is equally as important as the musicianship.
Yeah, so you found some alignment and now you are on a path, and you just came back from a tour in Mexico and also earlier in Germany. So can you tell us a little bit about the tour and how it came about? Now you're signed with a manager, I think.
That's right. Yeah, we have a management label, and we're working with them. And basically, we also do things on our own. So we were reaching out to a lot of people and trying to put the word and the name of the band around. And we played a couple of shows in Germany, which were relatively small, but went down very well. And then we finally had the opportunity to support Tarja Turunen on the Mexico leg of her Central and South America tour. And it was amazing, actually. I mean, it exceeded all our expectations. At the time, we basically had one song online on YouTube, a live performance from a show we did here in Switzerland. And so people didn't really know our music that well. And we went over there and we were the main support. We were the only support because one of the other bands pulled out. So that was an advantage. It was also a bit strange because we just went there after the earthquakes, actually. And so I think, that was a little bit of a sensitive subject. But I can say that, people were very happy to see us there. They were very happy that us or the headliners didn't cancel, and the reception was fantastic. It was absolutely unprecedented. But yeah, that basically came through the management label, and we just went over there. We thought, let's give it a shot. And yeah, it was a fantastic reaction. I mean, we really met some incredible people. Everyone was fantastic. Everyone really appreciated the music and totally were up for having a good time. And it was really a superb experience.
And how many shows did you do?
We did 4 shows in the end. We played in San Luis de Potosi, we played in Guadalajara, Mexico City, and in the east of the country, a place called Merida.
So let's backward a little bit about your story yourself as a singer. What made you want to be a singer, and how come a lead singer of a progressive rock band?
Well, that's quite a funny story. So I'm 37 now. And basically, I started deciding, so this is the key word, deciding I wanted to be a singer when I was about 16. And it pretty much came about from staying up late at night. I didn't have a job at the time. I just finished school. And I was literally just watching some late night music videos. And I'd always been into rock. Guns N' Roses turned me onto the rock scene. And that was kind of like my gateway. And then I kind of moved on to other bands like Alice in Chains. And I really got into the grunge scene of the early 90s. And I basically looked at the options. My family isn't particularly affluent, and I certainly wasn't at that time. And I think I chose to be a singer because it was the cheapest option. So I didn't have to buy any equipment. And basically, I was kind of just looking around, asking if anyone needed a singer. And it was very interesting, in fact, because the very first time I got invited to jam with someone, I went down there and I said, look, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, just go for it, do your thing. And I didn't really know what my thing was because it was the first time I'd ever played with anyone. And I just threw myself into it without any kind of restraint or, anything like this, any kind of self-conscious worries. And they were fantastically pleased. They said, wow, it's incredible. You have a great range and you just really, it's amazing. Please come back next week. So I went back the next week, and they'd invited some friends. They were very excited, and they'd invited some friends to watch. And that's when I discovered the other side. One of the many sides of the journey of becoming a competent singer was the fear, because it absolutely paralyzed me. And I was nothing like I was the previous week. I was just really unable to do anything. It was just I was so self-conscious because of kind of just wasn't really doing anything that had been set. It was still just jamming and improvisational stuff, and it really made me it almost traumatized me a little bit. So I think for about 6 months after that, I didn't do anything with anyone else. I never went back to that band. That was just way too much, and I still wanted to do it. But you could say that was the beginning of my realization that there were many, many more parts and a lot of work that goes into, being a singer or, of course, being a musician of any instrument.
What do you think happened that night that stopped you?
I think it was a number of things. As you mentioned earlier, we've connected. You've helped me with some things, and that's very useful what you've kind of showed me. But I mean, even before then, I was at least aware, if not knowing how to really deal with it, of the when the body is tense, when the voice is tense, and when the mind is tense. That it will, of course, affect everything. The more tension you carry in the body, and especially when you're doing something, I would say. I mean, every style of music has its own challenges. Pop music, as a singer, you have to be very clear and concise and carry a certain tone. And opera, you need to be very, very exact with, performing what is probably going to be something that has been performed many times before. And then with rock, you have, more demanding things in terms of what you're expected to do with your voice, how you're supposed to use your voice. So, of course, if you look at what I do in Ragdoll Sunday now, most of it is singing, but there's the clean singing. There's a difference between the head voice and the chest voice, of course, and then from there you have the clean singing, the kind of heavier singing, and then in some cases there's a little bit of shouting here and there. And I mean, if you don't know if you don't have the tools to deal with even the tension that precedes all of those other decisions, then you're already starting off in a bad path. It's like you are how can I put it, like you're going to do a 100-meter sprint and you bought the wrong shoes.
The first night you were unconscious about all of this, so you just went for it, and the second night you started to realize what was needed, and that's probably why you stopped yourself. Or
I think it was a little bit of this kind of not being, the first time was complete freedom, but the main thing the second time was there were also people there who were not playing, just kind of friends of the other people in the band who'd come to watch, and I wasn't prepared for that at that stage, so it kind of traumatized me a little bit.
So the public, the eye, you think that the fact that people were watching you. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
You think that if there wouldn't have been anybody, you would have been free like the first time?
Maybe, yeah, because at that time.
So it's really the eye of the other. Yeah,
I think that's something that, I mean, people tell me I come across as quite confident now, and that's something that I've kind of worked on, as part of my life skills, so to speak. But certainly at that age, and maybe naturally, I'm quite an introverted person. I'm quite shy, and so there's the famous stories of Skin, who was from Skunk Anansie, who was known to be an incredibly powerful female rock singer with an incredible voice. But apparently, in the early days, at least when she was off the mic, not performing, she was very, very quiet and very, very reserved. So it was almost like being on the mic transformed her. But for me, it wasn't quite like that. It was dealing with the presence of other people, sort of observing and kind of just not feeling comfortable in that role.
Do you have like any advice for a young singer? Because then after that night, you stopped for like 6 months.
Yeah. I lost a lot of confidence from that experience. That's right. Yeah. I mean, for young singers, I mean, the first thing I would say for sure, it sounds very straightforward, but I mean, so not everyone has the same means. And, if you can find some way of someone teaching you for a fair price, that's always going to help. You just need to look at a person's track record and then go to see them, and you'll pretty much know, I think, in the first 1 or 2 sessions, if that person has the right idea. I think a good singing teacher like yourself, Ariane, will, of course, concentrate on the general tools and techniques that will help you overall, rather than repeatedly going over certain phrases again and again and again for certain songs. Of course, that can be useful as well if you want to concentrate on a certain song, but I think there's that side of it. First of all, it's useful if you can find a teacher. The second piece of advice I would certainly give to any young singer, regardless of what genre you do, is I believe truly that the voice can be, everyone has, of course, let's say, genetic limitations in whatever they do. If I want to race against Usain Bolt, then even if I train every day of my life, I'm only going to have a limited chance. So, of course, that's something we all have to deal with. But you can maximize what you have. And I believe anyone can sing. You have people say, I cannot sing. And it's like, if you say that, then first of all, you've already failed at the first hurdle, because that's that's not positive reinforcement, right? But if you are a singer and somebody tells you, oh, you're a baritone or you're a tenor or you're a bass or you're X or you're Y or you're Z, that's fine. But I believe the voice can be stretched. Not, I don't like to use the word stretched actually, because stretched implies forcing, and it's not forcing. It's just with time and patience and the correct training, you can make the voice into something that it was not previously. I mean, just to sort of give you an example, I mean, when I was initially in bands, after that sort of fairly traumatic experience, I then kept trying to sing, but I didn't have the tools. And eventually I ended up gravitating towards straight hardcore bands where I would just be shouting and screaming my head off the whole time, which is, of course, much easier because you don't have to worry about tone and pitch and delivery and so on as such. You just need to be angry, which I was quite good at when I was a teenager. So then I was just screaming my head off. And man, I mean, if I played people some of the stuff that I sang before, they would probably say, how is your voice not destroyed? But even then, subconsciously, one of the advantages I did have was that anyway, I seemed to breathe quite low and from the diaphragm naturally. So, for example, if you initially perfect the breathing side of singing as a young singer, and then you just start to sing, you just sing your natural sort of, notes that you feel comfortable with, and then slowly just start to move left and right from that, up and down, start to explore the head voice, start to explore the chest voice. I mean, I listen to a lot of music and I hear singers who are only using one or the other, and I'm thinking, well, why are you doing that? I mean, you should be really trying to practice those as much as possible. I mean, I do scales like every day, and I also concentrate a lot to do with some of the things you showed me as well. Of posture is very important, being relaxed. I always stretch a little and things like that. But yeah, without going on for too long, I would say to any young singer, just be patient with yourself because your voice will develop. Try different things, but don't force it. Don't push yourself too hard. Be gentle and just relax, and it will come.
Yes.
Just be patient.
So let's come back to Ragdoll Sunday. So what motivates and drives the band?
Well, I think we're all quite creative people. We've all been in bands before, and we've all tried to, from quite young ages, tried to become professional musicians in the sort of very stereotypical, way of doing things, to believe that suddenly someone's going to pick up your demo and you're going to get signed to a multi-million-pound record deal, and that's going to be your life forever. But of course, it's an incredibly competitive industry, and even if you are very good, if you don't have the correct exposure or play fortunate enough to have access to the right gigs and so on, then it's not going to happen. So then we basically all went into some sort of job which we could survive off of and have a relatively stable life. And then after a couple of years of that, I think we all kind of were drawn to each other because we needed a creative release. And furthermore, I think everyone in the band has that sort of kind of passion inside them, and we need to produce stuff. And I mean, it's really just that, having a real passion for music. I think if you don't really love being in music, it's very hard to persevere with it because it's very challenging at times.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything you stand for as a band together?
Yeah. I mean, if a lot of the lyrics I write myself, most of them, but the rest of the guys we talk about stuff. Of course, we are also friends. We hang out, and there's a lot of kind of political things that we see and social commentary and so on in the lyrics, and that kind of drives us. If there's something we all feel a little bit kind of upset about, then perhaps we'll write a song that's a little bit more aggressive that day or something like that. I mean, we also, funnily enough, when we first met, we all were having some quite bad personal problems. There were, people were having relationship issues and so on. And I think it's just a release, and I think everyone needs a release, really. If you don't have that release on a regular basis, I think it's quite unhealthy, and people tend to develop, physical or mental issues sometimes. I mean, if you've got other ways to do it, it could be sport, it could be, something like that. But for us, it's really just kind of getting out all those negative emotions that might build up in your day-to-day life for whatever reason, and then releasing them in a positive way, and also trying to do something authentic and real that people can actually relate to. I mean, I think a lot of music these days, particularly popular music, is very manufactured, and it's a bit disappointing, you know. I mean, for me, if I can hear someone singing or performing or a band or any type of music, whatever genre, I can really sense if it's coming from a, you know, authentic place or not. I think that's something that we're missing a lot these days. It's like the intangible side of music, the part of art which is inspired by humanity, and you know, like art should be a product of life, not a copy of something, for example.
Yes. And so what do you think of the rock music scene right now?
The rock music scene, well, I think it's going through quite a hard place. You still have, of course, the old guard, where you have the Iron Maidens, Guns N' Roses, and the people who've been around for many, many years. And I think we're slowly starting to see the end of those because, of course, they're getting older and people are starting to retire. I think it was Brian Johnson, the singer of AC/DC, who actually gets a lot of criticism for the way he sings, because he does tend to scream and screech a lot when he was still playing. But if you listen to his earlier stuff, he's actually an incredibly good singer in the old days. But yeah, you know, they're kind of moving on, and we're seeing other bands come through like Imagine Dragons and Royal Blood, but it's a little bit different. I think things are a little less natural these days. So I think rock's in a tricky place right now. There's some very good bands, but they're quite hard to find. If, again, like some advice I would give to anyone out there who's looking to start a band, just really do your own thing. Sing with your own voice, play with your own guitar, make your own sound, make your own noise, do what you want to do. You know, don't try to copy anyone else, because I don't think it's going to make you happy or really be something that's going to stand out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'm sure there's many artists that are listening that would be curious how you got signed by a management.
Yeah, well, me too. No, we just we've tried different approaches, basically. I mean, how can I put it? We've kind of tried the sort of shotgun approach, where we've just blasted out emails to lots of people, and that's had, I would say, very limited success. And then, of course, it's kind of similar to forming the band, you know. I mean, you have to, when you're in a band, when you first start, you write music and you're very excited and you're very enthusiastic. And then, you know, you reach out to promoters, for example, and you reach out to booking agents, you reach out to management labels or record labels, and you're firing all your songs to everyone. But they're probably not as well produced as they should be, those songs. They're probably not your best songs, because as you get to know each other better, you'll probably feel more comfortable and make better music. So again, I think patience is the key. We got lucky because we sent out a whole bunch of emails to God knows how many people, and tried to call them and just relentlessly hassled them. And eventually, one of them got back to us and said, yeah, you know, we can represent you, we can help you book some shows and put you on tour and so on. So yeah, that was just a fortunate consequence of being kind of a bit obsessive about emailing as many people as we could with our demo and so on. But I think now we've kind of realized, when we were signed, actually, we had a big makeover. We changed all our logo and branding. At the same time, approximately, the band lineup changed quite significantly. We made professional photos, you know, we have a much more professional presence now. And that is also the case with the music we did. I mean, as I said earlier, we've made a lot of music. We went through the phase of just putting everything online. And, you know, I mean, it's literally just, it just didn't really have much of an effect, to be honest with you. There's some good things came out of it, but, you know, no one is really going to listen to not very well produced music when there's like 15 tracks that have just been kind of blasted out online. And now, you know, we've kind of taken a step back and found good people to work with. You know, tried to find the best in every area that would be willing to work with us. And, you know, it does require a bit of an investment as well. I mean, if you want to work with good people, of course, they need to be compensated for their time. But in the end, I think ultimately everyone wants to have a good outcome, you know. So again, I think with that sort of thing, patience is quite important.
How did the rebranding process look like?
Yeah.
Did you discuss with the management? How was that?
That was an interesting experience. So we got signed by the management and we had a call, and then they basically said to us, okay, so we like the name, we like how you look, and we like the music. Your live performance is good. Everything else we hate. So like, okay, and that's tough. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing you're going to have to really swallow, because, you know, ultimately they're doing it for your benefit, you know. And they said, you don't have a website, we can get you a professional logo. And of course, it was like, well, and you kind of, your ego takes a bit of a hit because you've been doing everything yourself until then. But yeah, I mean, we just went with it. And in the end, I must admit, it did have a massive effect. I mean, the difference was much better now. I mean, we really come across much. We have like a professional press kit. We have press releases, and everything is done in a very professional way. And I think that's quite important, whatever you do.
Is the management based in Zurich too?
No, they're based in London, in the UK.
Okay, they're based in London.
Yeah.
And how does that work?
Most of it's remote. We are communicating via Skype fairly regularly. A lot of emails get exchanged back and forth. I think in today's age, it doesn't really matter where someone is based, especially if it's in Europe or in a similar time zone mainly. I mean, for example, there's a lot of people who are very useful in places like Berlin, of course, London, and even in Zurich as well. So there's kind of these concentrations of people that are kind of very heavily involved in the music scene. But yeah, as long as you look at someone's track record and again, advice to any young bands out there, just don't get taken for a ride, because there's a lot of people out there who are just trying to take money off you, which is unfortunately bad, but the way things are.
What kind of contract do you have with them?
We basically have we kind of have like a 360 deal. So any money we make, for example, we made some merchandise sales on our tour. We produced some merchandise, and then we made the merchandise, and then basically they took a percentage of any sales we make from the merchandise. There's also a kind of minimum retainer that we have to pay each month, and in return for that, they function as a booking agent and as a management label. So again, money's involved. We don't get paid by them for sure, but of course, they help us with exposure and shows and so on. And unfortunately, that's a part of the game that you have to play in order to get your name out there. Because we would be able to, for example, organize a tour by ourselves. I mean, I've done it in the old days in some of my previous bands, but ultimately, if you want to get the sort of higher quality shows, which in reality is going to be the best way to promote your band, then you will need to have a connection. And of course, coming up as someone new in the business who's not, for example, working professionally full time in the music industry might be difficult to do that. Of course, there's the time thing as well, right? I mean, if you're full time, I've done it myself. I was full time trying to be a musician full time before, so I was doing everything myself. And you can have some success like this, but again, it comes back to not just that, but the goals of the people you're doing your project with, and of course their attitude. Because it's not easy to go to work all day, for example, or hold down a part-time or full-time job and then spend the rest of your time ringing people and emailing people and trying to do research. It's very intensive. So basically, we kind of outsource the management of the band to someone else, and we have a deal that works for both of us.
And they found the tour in Germany and the tour in Mexico for you?
Yeah, it was just a couple of gigs in Germany. Actually, couldn't really call it a tour, but the one in Mexico was definitely through them. They basically connected us with local promoters, and of course the band themselves, and they heard our music. They liked what they heard. They thought it was fine, and everything worked out really well, actually.
And did you hear anything from those gigs in Mexico? Did you have like feedbacks?
Oh yeah, we have a the feedback was great. We have a Ragdoll Sunday Mexico fan club now on Facebook. So we're kind of like D-list celebrities there now, which was nice. We had a little following, and in fact we were talking about that just the other day, about how we want to try and go out there again, because I don't know if any people of our Mexican fans will listen to this, but we did say we were going to go back there, and we do intend to. And I mean, it's one of those things, right? I mean, I was in one of my old bands, and we would play a show somewhere, and we really did it the traditional old school way. We'd go somewhere, play a show with a couple of other bands. Maybe when we first went, there'd be 10 people, but we still give it everything we had. And then you go the next time, there's 50 people, and then you go the third time, and there's 200 people, so it kind of multiplies on itself. And it's good. I think it's like that nowadays, particularly, that you have to kind of, in the beginning, kind of like anything, invest a bit of time and effort and maybe money into your project. and then slowly it kind of turns over and you start to become more self-sufficient.
And surround yourself by the right people, like your management company right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if we felt like they were not really serving us in a good way, then we wouldn't work with them. You know, I mean, we would say thank you very much and not burn any bridges. But, you know, it has to work for everyone on every level.
And now for 2018, your EP is coming out. Can you tell us about the process of making it, the choice of the songs, how you're going to produce it, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did all the recording in Zurich with an engineer called Ron Sumners in Chicken Hill Studios, which is actually Mornay Zug. So the recording was done there. And from my frenzied email attack that I'd done earlier in the year, we'd connected with a few producers from the US who'd worked in the rock scene previously. As I mentioned, we ended up talking to a guy called Brian Virtue. We had a very good chat, spent about 2 hours talking about music and his experiences working with some top level people. As I said earlier, I said Soundgarden earlier, but it's actually Audio Slave he's worked with, and Filter, and one quite famous band is 30 Seconds to Mars. So he's worked as an engineer or producer with them. So he's kind of worked at the top end of the market, and he really liked us. And, you know, he compromised a little bit on his, quite significantly on his price because, you know, he liked the music. So we sent everything over to him, and he's mixed everything, he's mastered everything, and it's actually done. But we'll just working on a timeline at the moment. It's been a little bit delayed. It was supposed to come out in November, but it's definitely going to be out in January. And yeah, we had 4 tracks, which will soon be revealed. You can say there's quite a mix of songs on there. One of them we're going to give a sneak preview to later on, I believe. So that will be one of the tracks on there, which will be nice for everyone. But yeah, there's a good mix of stuff on there, you know. And we've also right now, one of the reasons why the actual release of it has been delayed is because we are about to film. We're going to hopefully film 3 videos. We're definitely going to film 2. It's all very much in progress. One's going to be kind of a live action film, a music video, of course, and the other one's going to be animated. So that's exclusive announcement. And
wow.
Yeah. And yeah, so, you know, this is the type of thing we're doing right now. And we just want to put something out there for everyone. We're very excited to share it. We're quite happy with the quality of it. And then basically after this, you know, this is going to be available for streaming and online. And after this, later in the year, I think we're going to move ahead with recording the debut album.
And what's in plan for you for 2018? Do you have already concerts planned, gigs?
Well, I can't say anything yet, but there's some things in the pipeline. Basically,
cool.
we're hoping to record the album, and we are hoping to do a tour next year as well. And I can't say where, but yeah, I just can't say where. But there's some stuff in the pipeline.
All right, you're gonna have to come back on the podcast to tell us all about it.
I'd love to.
All right, and we worked on one song that's gonna be on the EP. Hard Create.
That's right.
Is the 4th track.
That's right. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that song? I really do like it. So.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, as I said earlier, the 4 tracks on the EP, you know, we had a lot of material to choose from. We chose these 4 tracks because we felt as though these 4 tracks really represented all the sides of what we're all about. So with Heart Create, this is actually quite an unusual song in terms of our songwriting process, because I wrote all the vocal parts before any of the music was written. And then I took it to the guys, and then we worked together on it. And yeah, you know, it's a little bit experimental. It's a little bit dark, a bit kind of intense, but also kind of a little bit. It's tried to make it a little bit sort of, I don't know, sort of vulnerable as well. And yeah, I mean, it's what I suppose I could kind of say what it's about. It's pretty much about you know. I mean, I always write my lyrics in a way where people can interpret them in their own way, but for me, the song is more about kind of being a bit alone in a place, despite you may be surrounded by people, or you may be in a very successful or affluent situation, but you're amongst those moments where you may not really feel, you know, fully secure, or maybe not quite what people think you should be. Everyone says, okay, this guy should be happy, this person, this woman, this whoever should be, they have this, they have that, and everything. But life doesn't work like that, right? It's talking about the intangible things that sometimes we're kind of missing in life, I suppose.
And I think we can hear it now. Thank you so much. I really think it's an awesome track. And so where can we find you online if we want to book a gig with you or just listen to your music right now?
Yeah, sure. So there isn't any music online right now. There is a couple of live performances from one is in Switzerland when we played in Bern last year. And there's also one of the shows we did from Guadalajara. So there's a couple of songs on YouTube. So just go to YouTube, search for Ragdoll Sunday. If you want to stay up to date with anything that's going on in the band, we of course have a lot of content on our website, www.ragdollsunday.com. We have various pictures and so forth. You can also contact us via the website. We have an Instagram. Again, just search for Ragdoll Sunday, and of course Facebook. And if anyone wants to contact us for whatever reason, just to say hello, then just give us a shout. We're always happy to chat to people.
Yes. And if you want to take a snapshot of this interview right now and put it on your Instagram and tag us, then we'll be very happy to actually repost it. Okay?
Oh, great. Thank you very much. I probably should also mention about the music. So as I said earlier, we're really going to release the EP in January. That's pretty much for sure. And then there will be available via all the usual streaming places like Spotify and Google Play. So check out those.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Gaetano, for being with me today.
Thank you, Ariane.
Bye.
Bye.
Did you like this episode? If you did, you can share, subscribe, and give us a review on iTunes. You can also, of course, reach out to Gaetano and his band on iTunes and all digital platforms to buy their EP, Immigrants, from Ragdoll Sunday. I will, of course, link all of this in the show notes of this episode, the website, the Facebook page, the Instagram, the YouTube, that you can check out and support the guys from this amazing rock band. Thank you for listening to the Creator Mindset Podcast. I'm Ariane Lianza-Heinz, your host. And till next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Creator Mindset Podcast at www.arianelianzaheinz.com.